Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jag. Again, for those of you who are new, this channel is covering everything associated with math and science at the high school level as well as the elementary level. So with that, let's get started. Again, with popular demand, we are going to continue with our Math 9 content. And today's topic is going to be finding an equation for a line with a given slope and a point. And this point basically lies on the line. So these concepts are very important, okay, in grade 9 math. Please make sure you are understanding the concepts very well. Make sure you're doing a lot of practice questions from the textbook. Alright, so with that, let's get started. So we're going to try this example here, okay? And I'm going to read it out loud. It says, find the equation of a line with a slope of 1/2. So let's put the slope in here. Okay, so I'm going to put 1/2 here, okay? With a given point, and it passes through point 1 and 5, okay? Whenever you're looking for the equation of a line, so remember I said last time that we should memorize this equation, and it is y equals mx plus b. Okay, this is the general formula or the general equation for any given line which is linear, okay? What I'm going to do here is I'm going to plug in my value for m. So let's do y equals 1/2 x plus b, okay? And after you plug in the value for m, I'm going to take my point, okay? And I'm going to use the x and y of this point and plug it back into this equation. So I see that the y is equal to 5. So I'm going to do 5 equals 1/2. And the x value here is equal to 1. We're going to do times 1 plus b. Is everyone good so far? All we're doing is plugging in the m value, which is a slope that's given in the question. And then I'm plugging the x and y of the point that's given into this equation. And you notice that we are always solving for b. So again, remember that the b is the y-intercept, okay? So we're going to do 5 equals, I'm doing 1/2 times 1, which is equal to 1/2, plus b, okay? And I want to make sure I leave everything as a fraction. Don't use any decimals, okay, when you're doing this unit. I'm going to take the 1/2 to the other side, okay, and subtract it. So 5 minus 1/2 equals to b. And the reason I'm subtracting it is on the right side, it's actually positive 1/2. When I go across the equal sign, I'm changing the sign, so it's negative 1/2. Okay, so now I'm not going to use the decimal here, okay? We're going to do a common denominator, so a little bit of fractions as well, okay? And you can just multiply the top and bottom by 2, all right? Okay, so if everyone's looking closely, it's going to be 10 minus 1, which is equal to 9 over 2, and this is the value for b, all right? And again, just like in the textbook, they're just leaving it. I can leave it as an improper fraction here. If you want to change it to a mixed fraction, you can. Okay, but it's better if you just leave it like this, okay? And so we're going to write out basically our final equation. I'm going to put therefore y equals whatever my slope was. The slope is 1/2 here. So it's going to be 1/2 x, okay? And then plus b. So the b value here we got was 9 over 2. So I'm going to put plus 9 over 2, okay? So this is actually my final answer. Again, make sure you are boxing, okay, your final equation so the teacher can basically follow along, okay? Or at the same time, I can also just make sure I'm numbering my steps as I'm going through. And that's a good way for the teacher to just follow through. And even if I don't get the right answer here, I'm making sure that I get all the part marks by showing all of my work, all right? So that's all you're doing basically for this section. So with that, we're going to try basically one more example here. So I'm going to just take this off. All right. So again, because it's just the equation of a line, I just need to make sure I'm plugging it into the y equals mx plus b. Okay. So we're going to try this example. So it says find the equation of a line, okay, which is parallel to x minus y minus 12 equals to 0. Okay, so first off, I noticed that this line is in the standard form, okay? The value in front of the x is positive, and the whole equation is equal to 0, okay? But remember, I can't really use the standard form of a line. I want to make sure I change it back into the slope-intercept form. And if you don't remember how to do that, make sure you are checking out my previous video. And that's all the topic was. We were just covering changing the standard form into the slope-intercept form. So it's very simple. Let's try it for this one. Make sure you're taking the sign in front, okay? I noticed that the y is negative here, so I'm putting negative y. I'm going to take the x to the other side, okay? And this becomes negative x, okay? Notice that the 12 is negative on the left side. I'm moving it over to the right side, and it's going to be positive 12. So just like that, okay? Just move everything to the opposite side and change the sign. Now make sure that the y here is not negative, okay? So what I'm doing is dividing everything by negative 1. Okay, and remember we have to divide everything by negative 1 because it's an equation. I want to make sure I'm not changing the equation at all. Okay, so it's going to end up being y equals, I see there are two negatives here, okay? Negative x over negative 1, so it's going to be positive x. So I'm just going to write x here. And this is 12 divided by negative 1, so it's going to be negative 12. Okay, so this is me just converting, okay, this equation into the slope-intercept form, and that's because I'm looking for an equation that is parallel to this line, okay? So when I use the term parallel, that means they have the same slope, okay? So I notice that the slope for this line is basically 1, okay? And the slope for my line is going to equal to 1. So let's make a line here, okay? So I'm going to plug in for my equation. Let's put y equals mx plus b, okay? And when the slope is the same, the two lines are parallel to each other. So I'm using the same slope. I'm going to put 1x plus b, okay? And it's passing through this point that is given in the question. It's 2 and negative 5. Okay, so I'm going to put 2, negative 5. And I want to use the x and y coordinates here and plug it back into the equation. Okay, so I notice that the y is negative 5. So put negative 5 equals 1 times the x value, which is 2, okay, plus b. Okay, yeah, I always like it when there are whole numbers here, so we don't have to deal with the fractions, okay, but most likely your teacher is going to give you fractions just to make it a little bit harder. So we're going to take this is 1 times 2, which is 2, okay, take it to the other side and change the sign. So it's going to be negative 5 minus 2 equals to b. Okay, does everyone see that? Okay, and a little bit of integers here, negative 5, negative 2, so b is equal to negative 7. Okay, I notice that the signs are the same here, so I'm just adding the numbers. I'm doing 5 plus 2, which is 7. The 5 is the greater number here, and the sign for the 5 is negative. Okay, so your answer is going to be negative 7. Okay, and let's write out our final equation here. It's going to be y equals, okay, the same slope I'm using, which is 1. So I'm going to actually put the 1 here. So 1x, and then plus b, and the b value we solve for is negative 7. Okay, so I'm going to put minus 7. And that's my final answer, so I'm boxing it. Again, I don't have to put the 1 in front of the x, okay? I haven't seen any teachers take off a mark for something like that, okay? And you could just maybe put y equals x minus 7, okay? Which means the same thing as well, okay? So there shouldn't be any questions on that, and the teacher won't take off marks, okay? So remember basically that parallel means that the two lines are moving in the same direction, and they're never going to intersect each other, okay? And so when two lines are parallel and they're not intersecting, they have to have the same slope, okay? So remember that the definition for slope is basically the rise divided by the run, okay? And I have to make sure I remember that definition so I don't mix up, okay, any of the questions that I'm doing here. Okay, with that, let's try this one last example. Okay, I'm going to take this off the board. Okay, and we're going to go through the term called perpendicular, okay? And perpendicular actually means that the two lines are intersecting each other. So let's try this one. Find the equation of a line perpendicular to y equals 4x plus 5, okay? So this is my equation here. Okay, so I see that the slope of this line is 4/1. And remember, it's basically whatever the value is in front of the x, that is the slope of the line. For my line, it's going to be perpendicular to this line, so I know that the lines intersect, okay? So for my line, it's going to be perpendicular, so this is a negative reciprocal. What you are doing is you are just flipping this over. It's going to be 1/4. And you heard me say the term negative reciprocal, I have to add a negative sign. Okay, so this is actually the slope that I'm going to use, okay, for my line. So let's make a line going down. I'm going to put y equals mx plus b because I'm looking for my line now. And I'm going to sub in, not the 4/1, but I'm subbing in negative 1/4. X plus b, okay? And here it says it's passing through the origin, okay? A lot of questions say that. The origin is going to be at 0, 0, okay? On the Cartesian plane, I'm using the x and y coordinates as 0, okay? So this looks pretty simple. So I'm going to put 0 equals negative 1/4 times 0, which is the x value, plus b. So remember, every time you're doing questions like this, I'm always solving for the b value, which is the y-intercept, okay? So negative 1/4 times 0 is 0. I basically end up with 0 equals 0 plus b, okay? And then you notice here, basically, the value for b is just going to be 0. So I'm going to put b equals 0. Okay, so if you want to actually box your m and the b values that you're solving for, I think that would actually be easier when you're stating your final equation, okay? And I always have to make sure I state the final equation, or again, the teacher will take off a mark, okay? So my final equation is y equals my m value, negative 1/4x, and the b value is 0, okay? So it would be like plus 0. And again, I don't need to write that down. I'm just going to leave it like this, okay? Because again, if there is no value for b, or the b value is 0, I already assume it's 0 here, okay? So that's my final answer. It's y equals negative 1/4x, okay? And again, don't write like, if for the x values, if the coefficient is 1, I don't need to write that. If the b value is 0, I don't need to put that in my equation. You're just assuming that the y-intercept is 0. That's where the line is going to start from, okay? So I hope everyone learned something here. Today we covered basically Math 9, the equation of a line, given basically the slope and a point that lies on the line. Again, this is a very important concept, okay? You should make sure you understand it. As we move on, everything's just going to build on the same concept here, okay? And make sure you distinguish between the parallel and the perpendicular lines. If two lines are parallel to each other, they have the same slope, okay? And if two lines are perpendicular to each other, they have a slope which is known as the negative reciprocal. So you're just going to flip the slope over, and I'm going to add a negative sign to it, all right? So again, thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something. Please make sure you're subscribing to the channel and click on the like button below. And I will see everyone next time. Bye!